Welcome to the Irish Farmers Journal Weekly Podcast, brought to you by Ornua, the home of Irish dairy.
Hello, Patrick Donohoe here, news editor with the Irish Farmers Journal. The past few days have brought much uncertainty for young farmers who are planning to pass the Green Cert before they receive payments from the National Reserve and the Young Farmer Scheme top-up. It is now clear that they must at least start their course before the end of this year to benefit from the schemes. My colleague, Amy Fitzgibbon, has been following these developments, and she joins me now where we try and make things a bit clearer for our listeners.
So, Patrick, this is a very sudden announcement from the department, and it's fairly worrying for many hopeful entrants to both the schemes. Can you tell us when exactly the news emerged, and what's the latest update from the department?
That's exactly it, Amy. Sudden, unexpected, and unfortunate, I suppose, is the way that most young farmers, the Department of Agriculture in Teagasc would sum it up. It emerged late last week that the European Commission, the people who essentially pay our single farm payment and our basic payment scheme as it is known now, they made contact with the Department of Agriculture, alerting to the fact that young farmers who were signed up to the Green Cert and who were signed up to get access to the National Reserve and the Young Farmer Scheme, that they had to commence their agricultural education, or the Green Cert as is known commonly, in 2015. So people who were looking for payments were on the back of National Reserve or through the Young Farmer top-up in 2015 had to commence agricultural education in 2015. Prior to this, the Department of Agriculture, from their own architecture of the scheme, had allowed young farmers the opportunity to have commenced a level 5 or level 6 agricultural education, again known as the Green Cert, by September 2016. So they were forced on the order of the European Commission to bring that in prior to December this year. So massive change, short notice, and massive consequences for a lot of people potentially.
And can you tell us how many actually applied for the Green Cert this year?
Huge volume this year, Amy. We had in the region of 5,000 or so who applied this year. If you cast your mind back even 2 or 3 years, there were usually 500 who applied for the Green Cert. Usually a small number, but it ratcheted up. Last year it moved from 500 to 1,500 on the back of what was coming. People knew that you had to be a young trained farmer under the age of 40 to get access to the scheme, so that it rose to 1,500 last year, and this year it rose to a massive 5,000, with the majority of that coming from the northwest.
Okay, that's a huge number. And can you tell us, how many of the hopeful entrants does then this affect? How many have yet to enrol?
Teagasc and the department, while they're putting a tentative figure on it of approximately 1,200, it could potentially be higher than that, because there are approximately 2,500 who applied this year and have commenced education this year. There are then those that Teagasc said that they would split up and start next year, so that they could all and get access and payment to this year's Young Farmer Scheme and our National Reserve. So about 1,200 is the conservative estimate, perhaps even higher, but those exact figures will be made aware in the coming days.
Okay, and Teagasc released a statement today. They said that it said it will do its very best to accommodate all those farmers, the 1,200, but it also said there's very limited flexibility with regard to the course location and the schedules and that. So applicants, that doesn't really hold out much hope for those students who, for some reason or another, can't actually practically get the time to do it this year, does it?
That's exactly it, because what the Department of Agriculture has informed Teagasc and the agricultural colleges, what they need to do is that they need to have a kind of an enrolment day, likely in the first couple of weeks of December, where all the 5,000, including the ones who started this year, and the 1,200 who have yet to be enrolled, they would come in, they would have an open enrolment day, and that would essentially kick off their the work. Now, however, and it is the case, but young farmers and the young farmers returning home from countries like the UK and even further afield like Australia and New Zealand, and there are some cases of that emerging as we speak, where these people were planning their lives around coming home next year. They're going to have to come home approximately around the second week of December, to commence this, pay a small fee, which Teagasc is kind of enforcing at this stage, and taking Teagasc aside for a second, they kind of need to do, because they need to have an idea who will be sticking with them for the entirety of the course. So they couldn't just let everybody in, start the enrollment, and people say, "Oh, I don't know, it's for me," and they move away again. So it's that's what they need to do, and there is a huge.
So they can just pay the fee and then go back to what they were doing. Is that what you're saying?
They can do. That's what the plan that the department and Teagasc are working on as we speak. Nothing finalised yet, but that would be what we're understanding at the minute. How it plays out remains to be seen, because essentially, and look, I'm somebody who's currently engaging in the distance learning aspect of the Green Cert. You do have to plan your holidays, your work schedule, essentially a lot of your life around the entire Green Cert, because you have to devote one Friday a month, or a Friday every 3 weeks to the work. As well as the exams that take place. So, you plan your holidays and everything around that to having 12 to 13 Fridays off. And especially those people who are the likes who are coming home from, and there's a couple in my own class who have returned from Australia to do this. So if they were in our position 12 months previous and they were asked to come home 2 weeks early, they possibly wouldn't be able to do it, and they would have been left outside it. Because look, at the end of the day, what's crucial here is giving young farmers the opportunity to establish in their own right. This is our generation's version of installation aid. It's given that vital income to get a farmer established. However, at a more core route, and the entire premise of what the Green Cert is based on is getting a farmer educated and also availing of tax breaks that is able to facilitate at a much straightforward and streamlined level the transfer of a family farm. Because, look, as we know ourselves, there are more farmers over the age of 80 than under 35.
Can you remind us then how much the Young Farmer and the National Reserve is worth to young farmers? The
National Reserve obviously is based on a farmer's own situation, but there's a top-up on the Young Farmer scheme up to a maximum of 40 hectares, so it's up to a maximum of €3,000 every year over the course of 5 years on the Young Farmer scheme. So not an insignificant amount of money, given that times are particularly difficult in agriculture at the minute at a financial point of view.
And so where does this kind of leave young farmers? You sort of already answered that, but they're being helped slightly by Teagasc's statement today, but they're still, I suppose, in the dark a little bit.
They are somewhat, Amy, absolutely. The department are saying, look, let's just try and get this sorted. Teagasc are saying, on the other hand, saying the department didn't let us know this. We were working on good faith, and they were. But at the end of the day, there are a lot of young farmers who just need clarity. And as you said yourself in your own piece this week on farmersjournal.ie, confusion is reigning, and that's really the common thread all week. Okay,
well, I guess we'll just have to wait and see how this story unfolds over the next few weeks. So thanks, Patrick.
Thank you, Amy.
You're listening to the Irish Farmers Journal podcast, brought to you by Ornua, the home of Irish dairy.
As you've seen in the Irish Farmers Journal in recent months, the number of serious accidents on farms remained high. We've decided to join forces with ESB Networks to go further than just reporting on farm deaths and safety initiatives, and launch the Safe Family Farms Partnership. From now on, we'll have more information on safer farming in the Irish Farmers Journal, as well as on farmersjournal.ie/Safe Family Farms. We will also visit schools, ag colleges and big farming shows. The Minister for Agriculture, Simon Coveney, came to support the launch of the campaign on Wednesday, and he told our digital editor, Thomas Hubert, about his own experience of farm accidents. We also asked him about the latest on farm payment delays.
I think most people that have worked on farms have had near misses of various types, whether that's with livestock who do things that we're not expecting them to do, whether it's on powerful machinery where people are rushing, maybe they're cutting corners, taking risks that they shouldn't be taking because they don't have the right attitude towards safety. And certainly when I was in my late teens, when I was working on our farm as it was, even though it was being run by a contractor at the time, we were burning stubble and ploughing a field at the same time. And I remember very clearly the flicking a spark up into the guard underneath the engine of the tractor that had an awful lot of chaff and straw in it. And before I knew it, I was in a tractor that was engulfed in flames. And I ended up getting burns on my back and the back of my head, and having to jump out of literally a burning cab of a tractor. Being more worried actually at the time as to how I'd tell the owner about what had happened, rather than anything else. But reflecting on it, the injuries and burns I could have got during that accident could have been very, very significant. I was a lot luckier than many other people have been in terms of farm accidents. Every year we have about 2,000 serious accidents in Irish farms. Last year we had 6% of all of the fatalities in the workplace happened on farms, which only represents 6% of the workforce in Ireland. So there is something totally disproportionate happening in Irish agriculture, whereby farm families are having to endure the misery and the tragedy and the trauma of farm accidents, whether they're serious injuries or of course whether they're fatalities. And this morning is about really creating and adding to the coalition of people who want to change that by changing attitudes and reducing risks on Irish farms. And I want to congratulate the Farmers Journal and ESB Networks for that initiative.
there's these kind of campaigns, and there is also the incentives you've put in place. You need to do farm safety courses to access a number of schemes, but you've also hinted at maybe more legislation or stricter measures. What do you have in mind in terms of something more strict if things don't change?
I've said that we're not going to do anything without consultation. So, we will be talking to farming organisations about how we can reduce risk levels on farms further. We already have very well funded schemes around spending money to reduce risk on farms. We've used our economies of scale, if you like, as a department in terms of the correspondence that we send out to farmers right across the country to actually send out leaflets on farm safety. We're requiring farmers now, before they can get money under most schemes, to actually do a safety course. But look, we need to keep looking at whether we can do more. Are we asking the awkward but correct questions around, at what age is it appropriate for somebody to be, in control of a tractor, both on the public road and on the farm? Is there the appropriate training and certification there for people who are 14 or 16 years of age, respectively, in terms of being able to drive tractors legally? These are the kind of questions that I think we need to be asking and discussing, and we'll come up, as always, when we have to try and solve big problems together. We'll come up with solutions that everybody can live with but can see are necessary.
Last question related more to the immediate news. A lot of farmers are waiting for their BPS or ANC payment and other schemes. In very simple terms, why are some payments late, and what is the department doing to help with the situation?
Yeah, can I say it's important to set the record straight here, because there's been this narrative that that farmers aren't getting their money. We have 160 million euros more paid out this year than at this time last year to farmers in terms of basic payments. So just under 110,000 farmers have got their 70% advance payment. That involves about 680 million euros have been given out over the last couple of weeks, and we're continuing to get more and more and more out. Likewise, in relation to ANC payments, 175 million has been given out. More than 80% of farmers have been paid. But we are in a year where we're introducing a whole series of new schemes, where there's a new basic payment, where there's a greening element to that payment, where there's new ANCs and new criteria attached to that, and so on. We also actually gave an extra 2 weeks for farmers to apply for the new schemes, which means we've had 2 weeks less in terms of preparation time as a department. So this is normal at this time of the year. Farmers that have clarifications to make in terms of their applications, or may have more complicated applications, may be involved in things like partnerships and so on, that need a bit of clarification before monies can be paid. That's the only reason why we're seeing any delays. There's no fundamental reason why farmers aren't going to get their money. They are going to get their money. But what I would ask them to be is just somewhat patient in relation to giving us the space and time to be able to get the more complex payments that involve new aspects, if you like, this year, to get them out. We're launching a whole series of new schemes this year that involves a lot of extra work. As I say, a new basic payment, a new greening element to that, and a new ANC payment, which is currently over 80,000 farmers.
This week, Board BA gave a progress report on the sustainability program Origin Green.
There are challenges.
The farmers and processors who take part in Origin Green agree to measure their environmental impact and set targets for improvement. And the idea is that this will help sell Irish food as a proven green
product. But that doesn't mean we're going to be
our market specialist Phil O'Neill every day I ask about this issue in terms of the numbers, the impact of Origin Green,
making sure that we get payments out as quickly as possible, and we'll continue to do that until everyone's paid.
Minister, thank you.
Thank you. Cheers.
We hope that you're enjoying this Irish Farmers Journal podcast, brought to you by Ornua, the home of Irish dairy. Find out more at farmersjournal.ie.
We've brought you wall-to-wall online coverage of the Agri Technica machinery show in Germany over the past few days, and there's more to come in this week's Irish Farmers Journal. But what's in it for farmers if you look beyond the shiny stands and the massive new tractors? Our machinery editor, James Maloney, met up with Teagasc's mechanisation specialist, Dermot Forristal, at Agri Technica to discuss the latest trends.
So Dermot, how long have you actually been involved in machinery? Well, James, I think it's sad to say this, but I'm basically at this job, which is mechanisation, I suppose, in Oak Park in some aspects for 32 years at this stage, James. So it seems like an awful long time.
32 years. That's a lifetime. So
it's not yet, James. No.
But I suppose looking at this and the scale of what we're looking at over the next couple of days and the last couple of days, what big changes have you seen over them 32 years?
Yeah, there's been massive changes. I've been out at Agri Technica, not that many times, but spread out over those 30-odd years I've been here. I think this might be my fourth time. But there's been big changes. Now, most of the principles in terms of farm machinery have stayed the same, but the size and scale, and particularly the application of kind of electronics and control systems, has changed massively. So over that period, we've seen huge changes in size and scale. I think what's dominated a lot of that maybe is bigger farm scale, particularly in the tillage area, and also the moves, I suppose, to contracting for particular operations on grassland farms, so silage in particular, but also slurry handling. So you see absolutely massive big slurry tankers, triple axle, even quadruple axle machines and that. So those are certainly new features compared to when we started going maybe 30 years ago. But having said that, the principles in most machines are still the same. The one exception that's of interest in the Irish context is probably bale silage, that has developed over that period, and we were lucky to be kind of at the forefront of that to some extent, and we have some very good companies in Ireland on that, and they're exporting here on the basis of that. So bale silage is a new technology that kind of came since I've started, but other than that, it's scale and it's the application of electronic and control systems.
On electronics, Dermot, you can certainly see their influence. They're nearly found in most machines now. Just a few examples walking around, and they're there really to make the job easier and speed up operations, really, is most of their principles. But how are they actually applied? Like, what machines are they making an impact on?
Well, they make an impact on everything. I mean, as you say, every machine has it. So, if you take a forage harvester, for instance, obviously you can gather a huge amount of information while you're harvesting, but you can also use them to control the machine much more accurately, so that you have systems on machines now that are sensing the kind of load on the machine and adjusting the machine as you go. So some of this is actually working away in the background.
It's automation without you ever knowing.
Without you knowing. You probably have it on the screen there telling you, but you don't have to know an awful lot about it. Other parts, it's helping you actually control the machine itself. And, in the true kind of precision agriculture kind of situation, you can actually, control the level of inputs that you put out on a variable basis as well. But there are still problems there in some of these areas. There are still problems in understanding variation within fields and how you respond to it. So while the equipment has got really, really good in terms of electronics, the positioning systems which can help us steer tractors and so on, while all of that has got good, the control systems have got good, there's still some basics that will need to be sorted out over time in terms of how you optimize your controlled machine.
Yeah. And there's other problems I see too, and it's the million control boxes in the tractor.
Yeah.
Have you seen any evidence that there's kind of getting machines talking to tractors and tractors talking to machines a little bit better?
That's a big issue, James, and always has been, how you manage that. And there's some indications. There are some indications that there are some improvements, all right. I was very interested. There's a company there today set up in Germany called 365 FarmNet. And they're really trying to get in the space of collecting data from all sources for farms. Now, this is moving away from the machines, but taking machine data, which might be, yield map type data, marrying that with other farm management data.
And I suppose the cloud has enabled this, their technology.
The cloud enables it, but it still requires all the different, companies that are involved in that space, whether they're people that are breeding animals, whether they're people that are selling farm management packages, whether they're machine companies with yield sensors, whether they're satellite companies giving you satellite data. You really want to merge those all together onto one platform. Now, lots of people want to be that platform, but today, we saw that one company that seems to be making a bit of progress there, where they've set the framework and they're trying to get all the other companies to join. But I think we have a long way to go there, but it's essential to kind of really optimize the information that's being gathered.
Yeah. Moving away from the electronics, I suppose, Dermot, probably an area that you've had a huge interest in is tyres over the years, and the trailers as well. There's huge tyres under the trailers here, under continental trailers.
Yeah, under trailers, particularly under slurry equipment. You're seeing multiple axle layout. You're seeing systems whereby the wheels can evenly track the field when they're in the field. The axles will actually move so that when you come in the gateway, you won't have one wheel pass following another. You have central inflation pressure systems which allow you to lower the pressure when you're at a slow speed operation in the field. One of the gold medals today was for Fendt, who have kind of speeded up that operation, because these central inflation systems whereby you could let air in and out of the tyres, one of the downsides of them was that they tended to be very slow and you needed massive pumping. But now Fendt, with a tyre kind of working within a tyre, so you'd have a high pressure tyre within the volume of a low pressure tyre, that allows that process of changing pressures to be done.
It's like a balloon inflating inside a balloon.
Yes, yeah, but it allows it to be done very, very quickly. So yeah, there's big emphasis on tyres, but it's something we need to get our act together on. I know they're expensive, but we can't impose the big machines on our soils without taking care of it.
Yeah, it's the sustainability of the soil. We can't actually, if it gets damaged, we can't repair it. It's a long-term process to repair soil damage.
Exactly. If you do damage like real soil damage, you might never really repair it, or it could be a lifetime job actually repairing it at times. So we need to be very careful.
Dermot, I suppose it's hard not to notice that there's loads of Irish accents on every stand you appear at.
We seem to have more machinery enthusiasts per head of population in Ireland than we have anywhere, James. So I think the one thing you have to do when you come out here as well, number one, not get carried away, because, you know, you can blow your mind literally what you'll see. I think from a practical point of view, you know, the exhibition is so big. What have we? We have 27 halls.
It's even
halls.
3 more halls. I think every exhibition hall is used compared to other years where there might be only 20 halls, but it's even bigger.
And you and I have been here a day and a half, and we've only covered really a fraction of it. So I think what's vital for anybody who's still coming out to it or coming out next time is that you plan exactly what you want to see first. There is absolutely no point in just walking endlessly through halls.
No, you'll have very, very tired feet. And
you really need to plan it and make sure you see what you want to see. So that's hugely important. And there is a lot to see.
One machine that should give, coming off the plane from Hanover, putting you on the spot here, Dermot, if you were Dermot Forristal's machine of choice that you should go and look at.
One certainly was, that's a bit novel, was a thing called a Krone Primus. So basically it's a pelleting system for straw. So basically you have a machine that's out there picking up straw like a big baler, but it's actually pelleting it. You say, what's the benefit? Well, in short, the benefit is transport cost. That's one huge benefit. It compresses it so that you have 3 to 5 times the load that you would have on a trailer than you would have a straw bales. That's worth a look. Hugely expensive and costly to do, but they've brought it to a production machine. The other things were the seed counting technologies that we've seen on the Horsch and the Vadistat drills allow us to get much more accurate seeding. And Horsch have taken that even a step further, where they're trying to go to almost precision type seeding for cereals in a very simple system, a simple light system. So again, there mightn't be huge benefit in it, but even if it's a small benefit, if they can produce it cheaply, that's going to be good. So they're certainly worth looking at. And the final one I'd say to you is, again, it's been something that people have tried to do with round balers for years, since the round bale was invented, to have a continuous round bale process.
Yeah.
Right. So you can see today, Krone have a market-ready machine, the Krone Ultima, which kind of holds the material before it goes into the chamber while the previous bale has been wrapped or been tied and moved to a wrapping chamber if it's a wrapper baler. The other one is the Lely machine, the CB or continuous baler. That's in prototype form and here at the show, and very impressive looking. And this is really what, since the round baler was invented,
people don't like to stop. Yeah,
the one downside, like your old square baler kept going all the time. The round baler, there was a stop. Now we've made the stop shorter with netting and so on, but there's still a stop.
And like Kverland have a fast bale machine as well that they have at the show. So there's 3 concepts there, 3 very leading manufacturers that are pushing this.
Yeah. So those are some of the highlights. But look, different highlights for everybody there. There's tremendous developments there if you want to see it.
Thanks Dermot.
You're listening to the Irish Farmers Journal podcast, brought to you by Ornua, the home of Irish dairy.
This week, a Galway-based company called Westway Health received a €50,000 grant from the European Commission to develop a new treatment for mastitis without using antibiotics. Let's hear from its chief executive, Ruairí Friel.
Mastitis is caused by a bacterial infection in the cow's udder. This is treated using antibiotics. Bacteria can become resistant to the antibiotic. Our product in development, should it gain approval, would eliminate these concerns, being able to eradicate all bacteria, and because it's a non-antibiotic, shall potentially allow farmers to sell treated milk both during and immediately following treatment.
The Irish Farmers Journal weekly podcast, brought to you by Ornua, the home of Irish dairy.
Finally, let's look forward to this coming weekend when the young farming women from across the country will compete in Macra na Feirme's Queen of the Land competition in Tullamore, County Offaly. The Dublin contestant, Paula Melville, is working with us here in the Irish Farmers Journal at the moment, and she shared her anticipation with Irish Country Living consumer editor, Ciara Leahy.
So first of all, Paula, tell me about the Queen of the Land Festival. Is it really a lovely girls' competition?
Well, I wouldn't think it's fair to describe it primarily as that. First and foremost, it is a personality competition. One of the main things that Macra na Feirme does is that it really promotes the talents and the achievements of their members, and it's just another opportunity for members to improve their public speaking and various talents that they have, and self-improvement basically. And when you say kind of lovely girls competition, in my head anyway, it conjures up some sexist imagery. We're very fair in Macra na Feirme, and we also have a male competition, Mr. Personality, so this is the equivalent of, so we do it for the boys as well. But Queen of the Land, one of the main things it does, one of the main areas that marks go for are rural knowledge, so agricultural knowledge. So it's not just a lovely girls competition, and it really celebrates women in agriculture as well. So there's a lot more to it than just a lovely girls competition.
Okay, so farming and rural knowledge. Do you feel like a bit of an underdog being the Dublin contestant?
I don't know if I'd say that at all. I'm very, very proud to be representing my county, especially as a farmer from Dublin. I'm from a farm just outside Blanchardstown, so I'm one of the closest farms to Dublin city centre.
Wow.
We breed cattle. I think we're one of the few, if not the only, with a herd number in our constituency. So I'm very, very proud to be from Dublin and to be a farmer, so I think I have the best of both worlds. Dublin would be small in terms of Macra, as in there's more members in, say, Cork, Macra, where you're from yourself, and Tipperary and other counties like Laois. So Dublin tend not to win as frequently as other counties because we have fewer clubs, but I am Puro of Dublin Macra na Feirme, so I intend to change that and get a few more members into Dublin Macra.
Excellent. You seem determined anyway. That's good to hear. Tell me about your decision to get involved both in Macra and Queen of the Land.
Well, like I said before, my mum's from Cork, and my mum always regretted not being a member of Macra na Feirme, and we all know that Cork is essentially the capital of Macra with so many clubs. So my mum kind of was encouraging me to join once I had my undergrad degree finished and I had more time. And my dad's a farmer, and I'm very involved in agriculture, and as I was educated in Blanchardstown, a lot of my friends wouldn't be involved in farming at all, and I really wanted to develop that interest. Just 2 years ago, I was showing cattle at Dublin's only agricultural show, The Flavours of Fingal, and having been threatening to join Macra for years, Macra's stand was right beside my stand at that show. So at that stage I said, well, I'll give it a go. A friend of mine, Ciara Fitzgibbon, she's actually county chair in Dublin, she took part in another personality competition of Macra, Miss Macra. Yeah. And it just looked like so much fun when I was down in Tipperary supporting her, so I decided to give Queen of the Land a go, and as it's more kind of agricultural focused, I decided Queen of the Land was the one I should go for, and it looks like great crack. Absolutely.
So tell me about the weekend ahead. The opening ceremony, you get little princesses, right?
Yes, you're right. It's very much so like Rosa Tralee in that sense. I can't wait to meet my little princess and to meet all the other contestants. As I'm very involved in Macra and I'm hanging around the farm centre, obviously, I've met many of the other girls, but I can't wait to spend the weekend with the other girls. And they set us up with an escort as well. I can't wait to see which one of the lads they're setting me up with. And just for the weekend as a whole, just the experience of being on stage. And on Friday, we will be down in Tullamore. Check-in for the competitions between 10 and midday. So then we're going for a tour of the county of Offaly, and then afterwards that evening there's going to be a banquet. There's going to be 3 huge nights, so it looks like an awful lot of fun, so I can't wait for it.
Absolutely.
I have my dresses gotten at this stage, so the stressful part is finished.
So you're all sorted and ready to go.
There's lots of shopping. It's nice to swap the wellies for high heels for a change.
Absolutely. And you're talking about meeting your escort. Obviously it's well known with the Rosa Tralee that there's lots of romances. Has there been many romances at Queen of the Land?
To be honest with you, it is the only big festival of Macra na Feirme that I have not attended. I had exams for my Masters this time last year. Right. So it's the one competition I haven't attended. I've been to stock judging, Mr. Personality, Miss Macra, the rest of them. So I'll let you know next weekend.
Excellent. Are you excited, nervous? What are you thinking about the festival?
I'm very, very, very excited at this stage. Just 2 sleeps away. It's ridiculous in a way. Like, just thinking back, we were selected. We had our selection night back in January for who would take part in the various personality competitions in Dublin. So I was selected at the start of January, so it feels like so long ago. It was nearly a year ago when I was selected, so I've been looking forward to this for so long, and now it's finally here. Can't wait to get the dresses on and
any
meet the other
nerves
girls.
about going on stage and chatting?
I think from the Farmers Journal are well aware from the few podcasts I've done that I am very, very chatty.
Yeah, so we don't think it's going to be any issue. Well, as we said, Paula is chatting to us as she is working here in the Farmers Journal. So Paula, we'd like to wish you the best of luck this weekend, and to all the contestants that are taking part in the Queen of the Land. We have a full rundown of all the girls in this week's Irish Country Living, so check it out.
The Irish Farmers Journal podcast, online at farmersjournal.ie, on the Irish Farmers Journal app and on iTunes every Thursday. Brought to you by Ornua, the home of Irish dairy.